Hi there, it's Christy with the Chirp YouTube channel. I'm here to talk to you in this video about the sensory black hole. Dum dum dum. The sensory black hole is when a child gets overstimulated by the world and sort of draws inward into herself and does something that is soothing to her sensory system, and that sort of enables her to block out the world around her, which is overstimulating, which is just too much right in that moment. Some of our students with more challenging behaviors do this when they hear you telling them to do something that they do not wish to do, and then they have a very good way to block you out. A lot of times they put their hands over their ears, they might even block their eyes. They think of any way that they can to get rid of the stimulus that they don't like, to cover it up. A lot of times I have had little ones hum or start to sing songs really loud, or just start to yell to cover up my voice. Most of the time they'll start walking away. A lot of the times they will choose not to look at me, either by closing their eyes, by looking somewhere else, by turning around and putting their backs to me. You can tell that a child is trying to block you out. And if that's the case, then it's very clear that the child needs a little space. And a lot of times in those moments when the child needs space, she will disappear into a sensory black hole. And this is where a child will find an activity that is especially soothing to her sensory system, that enables her to retreat from the rest of humanity in a way that feels very safe and very comforting to her. So for example, if you have a toy train, for example, if you're playing with your daughter and she's playing with a toy train, she may pick up the train and start spinning the wheels. And you know that as soon as she starts spinning the wheels of that train, then she is no longer part of humanity. She is not easy to reach once she starts this behavior. Or perhaps for your child, it's jumping on the trampoline. And whenever he jumps on the trampoline, he starts flapping and he closes his eyes and he jumps on the trampoline. And it is very difficult to reach him from that point on, because he is so self-involved, because he's so involved in his sensory moment. And that's why I call these sensory black holes. Because the gravity, the pull of that behavior is so great that the child has difficulty coming out of the behavior and rejoining the rest of the world once he or she has calmed down again. Once he has gotten the sensory input that he needed to stay calm, he has trouble getting back out of the black hole because the gravity is so heavy. And so I wanted to give you a few tips for helping your child to overcome the gravity of the sensory black hole and pull herself back into the world of interactions and engagement with other people. One of the ways that I recommend you do this is by silliness. If you can be extra surprising and extra silly, your child is going to be surprised enough to sort of be shocked out of this black hole. So for example, if your child is jumping on the trampoline and really involved in that activity, you give the child a couple of minutes. You know the child better than I do at this point. Most of the time, a minute or two is enough to self-regulate again, to come back to an equilibrium. And once your child, you think, has had enough time, then you choose your silly factor. And you may choose to start jumping up and down and imitating what the child is doing and saying, "Wahoo! This is great! I love to jump." That is pretty silly. If your child is spinning the wheels, you might choose to take the perspective of the train car and say, "Oh my goodness, my wheels are spinning so fast. They're getting really hot. Ouch, ouch, ouch! My wheels are too hot. Put me down." Or you might have to get an ice pack from the fridge to cool down the train's hot little wheels. So you can see how being over the top silly will sort of surprise your child and get over that heavy gravity so that she can jump out of the black hole. Another option is to change your tone of voice very significantly. One of the ways you can do this is by giving a really Or you could get a very low voice and say, "My goodness, you are jumping a lot." You can enhance this with your actions, with your facial expressions being very dramatic. And of course, it's hard to speak with an extremely low voice or an extremely high voice without getting some very strange facial expressions. And either way, your child is going to notice that something is different here, and it will be enough of a shift, hopefully, that it will be easier for her to get out of the black hole. A third idea is that you can somehow find a way to get in the way of what the child is doing. We call this playful obstruction. For example, if your child is a wanderer, you want to get right in the way. And one of the ways you can get in the way is making a fence around your child. You have an expectant face. You don't have an angry, "you must stop this horrible, annoying behavior of wandering" face. You have a face like, and you wait for the child to do something. Usually the child will look at you and indicate somehow that he wants out of your fence, in which case you say, "Out!" Or you can say "open," whatever the phrase is that you want to teach right in that moment. And so you can make a game out of whatever the child is doing. If it's a trampoline, you can crawl a teddy bear under the trampoline. I've used this one a lot with stuffed animals, so that the child jumps and it hits the bear, let's say, on the belly, and you can have the bear go, "Ouch, ouch, ouch, ouch. Oh man, my belly, I need a kiss." And then have the kid rub or kiss the bear's little belly because he jumped on it, and that was really hurty. So find a way to get yourself in the way of this sensory behavior so that your child will want to re-engage with the world as a whole. A fourth way that you can help kids out of a sensory black hole is by introducing a novel event. Perhaps there is another activity that your child really enjoys that you sort of save for special occasions. Maybe it's rocket balloons, and I'll put a link down below to those, and you can watch a video about how I use them right here. Perhaps it's gears, and I'll put a little video on those right here and a link down below to those as well. Some other form of sensory activity that can be engaging, that can be interactive instead of solitary, is always a better choice. And both of those activities are interactive ones rather than solo ones. And so they are a better choice than whatever activity it was that sucked your child into a black hole. By just pulling those out and saying, "Time for gears," usually a child will sort of pop out of the black hole and sort of awaken from that days of sensory over input, and will be able to overcome the gravity of that sensory black hole. A fifth strategy that you can try is to count down. For some reason, we humans seem to be wired to respond to a countdown. And so a lot of times, for example, if a child is having difficulty making a decision or just kind of dithering about something, I will say, "Okay, you have 5 to decide. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Usually before I even get to 3, the kid has picked a choice and is off doing it. So I don't have to get all the way to 1. But it's the same deal with sensory black holes. Sometimes if I say in a very excited voice, "Okay, 5 more seconds of jumping. I'm gonna count down 5. Oh, and I have to say something we're gonna do instead that's extra fun. So I might say 5 more seconds of jumping, and then we're gonna spin. I know the kid likes to spin with me, and I know that I can make that an interactive activity, and so I know the child, that will help too, is to have something fun on the other side. But I can also say 5 more seconds, and then more play. Whatever we were doing right beforehand, I can often redirect the child back to that, assuming it was a pleasurable activity to begin with and it just got a little bit much, so the child needed a break. I can bring the child back to that activity with the countdown tool. So of course, he's jumping, I'm saying 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, wahoo! Jumping was great, let's play. And then sometimes I will physically help the child get off the trampoline or hand him the toy that we were playing with before the sensory black hole took over. There you have 5 simple strategies for helping your child escape from the sensory black hole and re-emerge refreshed and eager to re-engage with you and the world of social interaction. I hope it was helpful, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.